The biggest problem in India today is that though we are a very major economy of the world, but we have one of the poorest people living in this country and also one of the most malnourished population of the world. There is a tremendous difference between the rich and the poor, and it is increasing day by day. And I feel that unless and until these impoverished people who are in the bottom of the pyramid, they are not brought into the mainstream, which means that their life should become better and they should become middle class, India cannot progress and it cannot become great. Now there are three issues. How do we do that? One naturally is that the major population poor people live in rural areas. The demographic shift is taking place, and it is predicted that within the next 10-15 years, more than 50% of the people will be living in cities in India. Now that is a very serious issue because the cities will break. They are already breaking at the seams. There are no infrastructure, and suddenly this huge onslaught of rural population coming into cities. So big cities are becoming mega cities and the small cities are becoming big cities, and this is a very serious situation. The best way to do it is to improve the quality of life of this rural poor in rural areas only. The way to do it is that we try to look at how to improve the quality of life, which I call as a one hut at a time, how their living standards can be improved. And the living standards can only be improved if they make money from their work, which is mostly agriculture. So the thing is that how do we improve the quality of life? By providing good facilities for their living, which means their cooking and lighting, which means that clean water, which means better housing, comfortable housing, and then we go for how to improve their livelihood. And in this, because the problems are unique, the problems are very tough, I feel that we need to have some of the best brains of this country, the best engineers, technologists, scientists, who would help improve the quality of life of these poor people. In our institute, we have done some work towards this. I have written extensively on these issues. My articles have been published in various journals and various newspapers on these issues. I have given a lot of talks on them on these issues at different IITs and colleges. And that is what I would like to emphasize, that we need to develop very unique and sophisticated technologies to improve the quality of life of these rural poor. In the improving the quality of life in their huts or in their housing, we have developed land stoves which produce both light and heat from the same source, and in this case it is diesel. Then we have developed solar water purifiers which can produce excellent water by simply filtering the dirty water through a 4-layer sari cloth and putting it in a solar tubular collectors, and the heat of the solar tubular collectors then kills all the coliforms. Then we had developed in late 1990s electric mobility, and we have looked at how to produce electricity from agricultural residues which grow in the rural areas. Now, in terms of livelihood, this is a very sad state of affairs that people think that they can eat nuts and bolts and software. They think that by producing nuts and bolts and software, the country can become great. After all, we all have to eat food, and food is produced on the farms and in rural areas. But today, farming is very non-remunerative. No farmer wants to farm because of the back-breaking labor, and also it does not give him good money. So most of the farms are becoming non-functional, At the first instance, farmers sell their land. So there is a need to develop very sophisticated farming and to improve it so that the productivity increases, and if the productivity increases, then naturally the income also increases. And in that connection, I have written a lot of articles on precision agriculture. I think the future can be in container agriculture, in which you grow inside the container, inside the rooms, with artificial lighting and other things, and with very little inputs, so that the very efficient farming takes place. And these are the issues which will make the whole farming very glamorous and very high technology. That is the issue in which I think a lot of very bright engineers and technologists will take part. And this is something which we are trying to focus both for human consumption and for animal consumption in terms of producing fodder. And the last thing is that we need the best brains. How do we excite the youngsters? In fact, this video is a part of that. How do we create the excitement in the youngsters to take up these challenges? Because these challenges are really the main challenges which will utilize their best knowledge that they would have gained in their colleges and universities. And how do you do that is something which we have to think about.